the OHL draft, college, whatever. OHL draft, NHL draft, and college, getting a scholarship is where the rubber meets the road for people. Okay? So when you're in Ontario at 16, every kid, and even if you want to go to college, every kid wants to get drafted. I've got kids that said they will never play in the OHL because they're smart and they want to go to the NCAA. Yet, when the draft came, they were waiting for their name because you're getting recognized, right? So for the first time of your life at that 15, like that U16 level, scouts are watching you and it's on your mind, parents' mind, and people do weird things to think that they're going to get noticed or whatever. So, but then the rubber meets the road. So that's when expectations are actually met or they're not. And this is where it can be really devastating for people. But so the expectations going in, this is where parents and kids, like I just think that you have to play the game and do it as hard as you can and have a reasonable expectation. Like, I'm not saying don't think that you can go anywhere because that would be stupid, but you have to have like equal to your dreams. It has to be work. It has to be commitment and all the things that go with it. And then you have to be a good hockey player on top of that. But now you're getting actually judged, and you're getting judged for real. Like when you come home after a game as a kid, and mom and grandpa and all of them say good game, or even your coach for that matter said, "Oh, we played well today." It only means so much, because at the end of the day, you're looking for someone outside of this world to say, "No, we think this much of you, so we're actually going to select you here." Mm-hmm. That's when you're validated, like, "Oh, I did well," right? And when you're not, it sucks. So it's like what we called that is just managing your expectations. Yep. It's important to do because getting drafted is one thing, making it is another. So as I'm watching my son in the OHL and other parents and people that I know that over the years, the frustrations that they get, they're unreasonable. Unreasonable. To think, just number one, for some people to think that they should be drafted high is unreasonable. You're just not a good enough player right now. The next thing is like to actually get drafted and to make it. People don't understand how big of an expectation that is. You need to manage it, and I'm going to go through it in a bit. And then to produce is a whole different thing, right? So I just did a little thing, getting drafted. Like people say it so loosely, right? As long as they get their school paid for. You know what that means?
Yeah.
Or just get, play a couple years in the whatever. Okay. So I just went through. So Eric Wellwood and I talked about this a lot, like when he was working with me. And it's just like when you go to the OHL, and this is back when I played too. When you go to the Ontario Hockey League, and college is no difference. I did a little newsletter on that about a year and a half ago. How colleges, you think that they're hard to get scholarships? Yeah, they are. And they don't just take kids from the States. They take them from Canada, take them from Sweden, they take them from Finland, they take them from all over the world. So they're looking for literally the best hockey players, period. But every year that a college makes a 4-year commitment to people, or 3 or whatever. So when they're signing people, they're looking for 1 or 2 spots 2-3 years down the road. That's not easy. So now I'm just going to something that's really, really close to home. And that's the Ontario Hockey League to me because I live it, right? Eric and I were saying that basically on the average OHL team, there's 1 or 2 spots per year. When I think about that, 1 or 2 spots. So that seems like if you're a first round pick, you got a good spot.
And now, how many are on the roster? Just for
I don't know.
Let's say 22 to 25 guys.
Well, yeah, let's say it's a 23 to 25 guy roster, right. But like all I know is that you can only dress 20 guys.
Right. So you can dress 20
2 goalies,
and there's so of the 20. Let's say best case scenario, there's 25 guys on the roster. There might be 2 spots.
Yeah.
On that team every year that are available for someone to take.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
Yeah. And yeah, so there are other guys signed because there are injuries. There are you're not playing well, sit, like there's those lessons and stuff. And I forget what the cap number is, but I think maybe it's even 28 total that you can have sent to junior B. I don't know 100%.
Yep.
But the bottom line is you got 20 spots on a team.
That's also
to
true,
play.
just to cut you off again.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's also true for every junior league around the OHL.
Yeah,
so it's not just OHL. That's the same for junior B. It's the same for junior C, for that matter. It's the same for ECHL, OJHL, AJHL, SJHL, NUL, USHL. It's always the same. That is about what we're looking at. 1 or 2 spots. If you're lucky and there's a big year, maybe 3, maybe 4. If you're really lucky and a lot of guys are leaving for whatever reason. But normally you're talking 2 spots.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So like in the OHL, like unless a team really loads up with a whole bunch of 19-year-olds.
That's right. Yeah.
But they still have a pipeline.
Yeah.
People don't realize the pipeline. But if a bunch of 19-year-olds, then you have a little bit less. But I was looking and I just kind of did an average. An average team has 16 players coming back that are eligible to come back for sure. Plus, they're going to need 3 overages. And so you might say that, well, some teams might not take the overages. No, they will because they want to win. The overages are what make your team.
Yep.
It would make them tick. So there's 19 players right there. So the average team is 16. Like now, I looked at there's 1 or 2 teams that are going to be more like based on the roster right now, 14 plus 3 overages, so still 17. But that's they loaded up and sold the farm to try to make a run, right? So plus 3 overages, plus you have draft picks from previous years that are still trying out for the team, so that if you're drafted that year, they're still 1 or 2 years older than you. So that's an issue. Plus, there's free agents. Free agents, what is a free agent? A free agent is someone that you, Eric, you're looking to make the best team. That's what you're trying to do. You're not trying to make any friends. Try to make the best team. And you saw this kid in Milton, Ontario, that's 6'2", that no one's really seen, but I really like the way he plays because he's rough and he's tough, and I think he could beat the head off of some guy's shoulders. And I like
that's
that.
how I got invited to camp, free agent,
right?
Yeah.
So you were a free agent. So then there's those guys that they never had they never had anything given to them, that when they come to camp, they actually might beat your head off your shoulders, and people like that. Just so you know, right?
Yep.
Most guys that come to free agents aren't like kind of hungry to play. They're just like really, really hungry to play. So they have a different element. Free agents, and then you have Euro picks. So every team is allowed 2 Euros in the import draft. So there's it just keeps piling up.
So can I just summarize that? I just want to summarize just so everyone understands what we just said. So you got a roster of 20 guys that can dress, and then let's say on average you got 5 guys that don't dress every night but are on the team signed or whatever. So let's say you got 25. So of the 25, the average in the OHL right now is there are 16 players that are going to be back next year.
So just to be clear too, it's my average. It's not. I didn't do a calculated, but I just looked, and it's probably 16 is probably low, but I averaged it out.
Whatever.
To be about
it's around 16. Okay, plus or minus a guy, whatever. Even if it's 14, let's say it's 14. That's fine. So let's say the average is 14. So you have 14 guys returning for sure next year of guys that played. So the guys that played that season that were in the lineup majority of the time. You got 14 guys coming back.
Plus overages.
So right. 17. So you got 14. You got 3 overages, which is 17.
Yeah.
So now let's just, as a complete lowball, let's say that's 17. So now you're thinking, okay, there's 3 open spots that are going to play games. Okay, so competing for those 3 spots now, unless some guy had a horrible summer and is going to get cut of the 14, which is not likely, but you got 3 spots that you can work for. So competing for those 3 spots, you have free agents, the draft for this year, the draft kids from the year before, which is 15 rounds of picks, plus or minus if they had more or less, plus import draft, if I already said that. All of those guys are competing for 3 spots. Best case. That's low ball. That's low ball. 14 guys coming back. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So.
No, I know someone's going to say, well, that's not true. It's true.
That's facts.
It's a fact.
That's straight facts. And the thing you didn't mention that I knew you were going to mention was the first round pick is going to get a spot.
Yep, it's next on my left.
Yeah.
So the first round pick is on the team.
Right. So that means there's a -1. So now you're looking at 2 spots that you're competing for. 2. Yeah. Right?
And when I had one, several people do this, but I had one of our guys, I'll tell you after, that was drafted. And his dad and him went through the roster, and he had him when he was 16.
Oh, yeah.
Penciled in at, should be a worst case, 3rd line right winger. because they don't know the depth of what goes in there. So it came back day 2. They said, okay, you can go home and go play junior B now. He was like, what?
Yeah,
because you're a pretty high pick.
Well, I want to stick on the pipeline thing you mentioned before because that's people don't understand that, right? So you get drafted. Let's say you're a 3rd round pick this year in the draft.
Yeah.
So you're going and fighting for 2 spots against the potentially the 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, 5th round pick from last year.
Yeah.
Plus the 2nd, 4th, 5th from this year competing against you because the 1st rounder will have a spot or whatever. Plus all the people in the later rounds that might have developed a little bit later or really had a good offseason or a good year but the year before, like a Seabass or whatever, that are coming in hungry, plus whatever free agent that they found. And you don't realize that the whole year before, so when you're in your draft, you're playing AAA, there's 15 rounds plus or minus of players that are drafted to that team that are going to be at camp next year also that you have to compete against for 2 spots. Right? Yeah. So it's like,
and you could, and then you could be, and at that camp where you think everything's good, along comes Arbor Jackeye.
Yeah. That's right.
And everyone goes, "What the kid's huge? He's great."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Didn't see that
because he was a free. Was he a free agent or was he a pick?
Free agent.
Yeah.
One of the best D in the OHL, signed with the Montreal Canadiens. I'll go into that after, but along comes the free agent that
didn't see that guy coming.
No one
so
saw
don't
that
forget,
coming.
like when your players, when your parents too, and you're getting into, again, going back to the managing expectations thing. Don't forget how many guys are in the pipeline. It's not just the guys that are in the roster, you know.
And so this is the other thing is, like, I'm just taking the Guelph Storm for example, and I'm just throwing this right off the top of my head. They've had some, like, they have some high picks, but they also, just in Charlie's draft here, they signed, and it's mostly for the next year, but they signed, I think he's a 6th round pick that's got some games in this year because of some injuries and stuff. 6th round pick. The 6th round pick. What happened to the 3rd round picks? The 2nd and the 4th. You see those guys leaving all the time. Like the kids on the team, on Charlie's team, that are a few 8. Well, actually, we just have one of our local guys that signed with Guelph, 8th round pick. And I think there's 3 8th round picks on that team and a 9th.
Yeah, 5th. Bowman's a 5th. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, just because you're drafted early, you still have to get there, and it's not because your number does not give you the spot. Yeah. Guys come out and they're ready to go.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And at camp, I'm telling you, man, there's some guys that, you know, they hung around and hey, they're close.
Yeah.
And they get come next year.